In this video, I want to have a look at solving equations with fractions. Now we're just going to jump straight into a few examples. So our first one asks us to solve 2x over 3 equals 8. So to get rid of this divided by 3, we have looked at questions similar to this before. So to get rid of that divided by 3 on the bottom, we're going to multiply both sides of that equation by 3. And we'd end up with 2x equals 24. And then to get our x on its own, we're going to divide both sides of that equation by 2. And we'll end up with x equals 12. For our second one, even though it's written differently, instead of being written as something with the x in the numerator, we've got this fraction out the front, so 4 over 5m. It actually means exactly the same thing as if we wrote 4m over 5. So these two things mean the same thing, which means we're going to deal with it in the same way. We're going to times both sides by 5 to get that 5 out of the denominator. So we're going to be left with 4m equals minus 30. And then to get the m on its own, we're going to divide both sides by 4. And we'll end up with m equals minus 7.5, or minus 7.5 if you'd prefer to write it like that. Our third example asks us to solve k over 7 minus 4 equals 2. So the first thing I would get rid of here is that minus 4. You can get rid of the 7 first if you like, but it's just that little bit more complicated. So let's get rid of that minus 4 by adding 4 to both sides of that equation. So then we'd end up with k over 7 is equal to 6. Then to get rid of our 7 out of the denominator, we're going to multiply both sides of that equation by 7. And we'll end up with k equals 42. All right, our next one, we've got 5w over 2 equals 3 plus w. So to get rid of that 2 in the denominator, we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. But we just have to be careful over here that we multiply every single term by that number. So on this side of the equation, we're going to end up with 5w. And on the right-hand side, because we're multiplying everything by 2, we're going to end up with 6 plus 2w. So now we have pronumerals on both sides. So we're going to get rid of the smaller one. So we'll subtract 2w from both sides of that equation. So that then will give us 3w equals 6. And our last step to get that w on its own is just to divide both sides of the equation by 3. And we'll end up with w equals 2. We've got one last example. So we've got solve p plus 9 all over 4 is equal to minus 2. So again, this one's a little bit different to up here. That minus 4 was not part of our fraction, whereas this plus 9 is. So when the minus 4 was separate, we got rid of that first. When the 9 is part of the fraction, we're actually going to get rid of the denominator first. So we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by 4. And we'll have p plus 9 is equal to minus 8. And then we'll subtract 9 from both sides of that equation to end up with p equals minus 17. And don't forget, you can always substitute these numbers back into the original equation to check that you are getting them right. So that's a few examples of equations that involve fractions.